The first day at her new job was supposed to be simple. Keep her head down, learn quickly, and finally earn enough to keep the lights on. Mia had spent years fighting through small-town temp jobs before finally landing a position as an assistant at Hale Industries, one of the city's most prestigious firms. She took a deep breath as the elevator climbed, clutching her tote like a shield. This was a fresh start, she told herself. No more running from the past. When the doors opened, she stepped into an office lined with glass walls and quiet confidence. People in sleek suits passed her by, their shoes clicking like clockwork. At the far end of the hall stood the CEO's office, framed by tall windows that poured sunlight onto the marble floor. She wasn't supposed to go there, but something about the portraits hanging outside caught her attention. One in particular. It showed a man in his early 40s standing beside a younger version of himself. His father, she guessed. Both wore the same proud smile. But it wasn't the CEO's face that made her heart stutter. It was the woman beside him. Mia stepped closer. Her hands began to shake. The woman in the portrait had soft eyes, familiar cheekbones, and a smile she knew too well because it was the same one that looked back at her from her daughter's face every morning. Her breath caught. No, it couldn't be. She blinked hard, reading the small plaque beneath the frame. Ethan Hale and family. Family. Her legs weakened, and the hallway blurred. For a moment, she could hear only the sound of her heart pounding, echoing in her ears. Then a voice behind her broke through. Are you lost? She turned sharply. A woman in a tailored suit, Miss Collins, the HR director, watched her curiously. No, I was just admiring the photos. Miss Collins smiled politely. That's the late Mr. Hale with his wife and their son. The current CEO, Ethan. Tragic story, really. The mother passed away not long after that photo was taken. Mia forced a smile, her pulse racing. I see. Orientation starts in 5 minutes, Miss Collins said, gesturing for her to follow. Mia nodded, but her thoughts were miles away. Her mind kept flashing back to that face in the portrait, the same warm eyes, the same dimple that appeared when she smiled. The same one her daughter, Lily, had. That night, she sat at her kitchen table long after her daughter had fallen asleep. The light above flickered softly, the only sound the slow ticking of the wall clock. She took out the small photograph she always kept tucked in her wallet. A picture of Lily at the park, hair windblown, laughing with an innocence that made her chest ache. Lily had always asked the same question. Mommy, who's my daddy? And every time, Mia gave the same answer. He's someone I once knew. Someone kind. She hadn't lied. Ethan Hale had been kind. Years ago, before success, before walls and titles. They'd met when he was just another quiet architecture student with big dreams and a soft voice that made her feel seen. She'd loved him, and for a while, she believed he loved her too. But then came the scholarship abroad, the silence, the distance, and the letter that never came. By the time she realized she was pregnant, he was gone. She never told him. Until now. The next morning, she arrived at work early, her heart heavy but steady. She would stay professional. She needed this job. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. By noon, Ms. Collins walked her to the executive suite. Mr. Hale likes to meet every new department hire personally, she explained. Don't worry, he's not as intimidating as he looks. Mia tried to smile, though her stomach twisted in knots. The elevator doors opened, and there he was, standing by the window, older, sharper, more distant than the boy she remembered. His suit was perfect, his expression unreadable. When he turned, their eyes met, and the world went still. He frowned slightly. Do I know you? Her throat went dry. I don't think so, sir. He extended a hand. Ethan Hale. She took it, her fingers trembling. Mia Collins. The name came out before she could stop it, her mother's maiden name. She hadn't used Mia Carter in years. He studied her face for a moment longer, something flickering in his gaze that he quickly hid behind professionalism. Welcome to Hale Industries, Miss Collins. Thank you, she managed, pulling her hand back before he could notice how it shook. As she left his office, her mind spun in chaos. He didn't recognize her. Not yet. But she couldn't stop replaying that single moment. The way his eyes had softened just slightly, the same way they used to when he looked at her years ago. That evening, as she tucked Lily into bed, her daughter clutched her stuffed bunny and whispered, Mommy, did you meet nice people at work? Mia smiled faintly. Yes, sweetheart. Some I've known for longer than they remember. Outside, rain tapped against the window, and she knew she couldn't keep the secret forever. The past had found her again, and this time, it was wearing the face of her daughter's father. The following week passed in a blur of quiet tension. Every morning Mia told herself she could handle it, that as long as she kept her distance, Ethan would remain nothing more than her boss. But the universe seemed determined to test her resolve. He wasn't just present in meetings. He lingered, asked questions, remembered details. He had a habit of stopping by her department at the worst times, always polite, always collected. She tried to act natural, yet every time he looked her way, her heartbeat became a drum she couldn't silence. One afternoon, she was organizing files in the conference room when he appeared in the doorway. "Miss Collins," he said, "could I speak with you?" Her hands tightened around the folder. "Of course, sir." He motioned to the window overlooking the city. "I've been reviewing your work this week. You're efficient, organized, and—" He paused, his voice softening slightly. "Familiar." Mia froze. "Familiar?" He nodded slowly. "It's strange. You remind me of someone I once knew." She forced a small smile. "I get that sometimes. I guess I have one of those faces." His gaze lingered longer than it should have. "Perhaps." Before she could answer, his assistant entered with a report, and the moment broke like glass. Ethan dismissed her with a nod, but as she turned to leave, he said quietly, "Miss Collins, would you stay a moment?" Her pulse jumped. She stayed. When they were alone again, he stepped closer, not too close, but enough that she could smell the faint scent of cedar and coffee. "If you don't mind me asking," he said, "where are you from?" She hesitated. "Small town. Willow Creek." Something flickered in his expression, surprise, then disbelief. "Willow Creek. I went to college there." Her throat tightened. "I know." He frowned. "You do?" "I mean, I heard. It's a small town. Everyone knew the Hales." He studied her face carefully now, like he was searching for something half-forgotten. "Strange coincidence." "Yes," she whispered. "Strange." He smiled politely, but his eyes stayed thoughtful. "Well, coincidences or not, I'm glad you joined us." That night, Mia drove home in silence, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. When she walked into their small apartment, Lily ran up, waving a drawing. "Mommy, I made a picture of you and me and my friend at school. He said I look like his uncle, but I think I look like you." Mia knelt, tracing her daughter's tiny face. "You do look like me," she said softly, "but maybe a little like someone else, too." The next morning, an unexpected email arrived. It was from Ethan's office. "CEO requests private assistance on project development file, confidential." Her heart dropped. She'd done everything to avoid working too close to him. Still, refusing wasn't an option. That afternoon, she knocked on his office door. "You wanted to see me, sir?" He looked up from his desk. "Come in." Close the door. He handed her a file. "We're reviewing plans for the new charity division. You'll assist me directly for the next few weeks." "Of course," she said, trying to sound composed. For hours, they worked side by side. She typed while he dictated, their old rhythm resurfacing without warning. It felt painfully natural. At one point, he leaned over her shoulder to look at a document, his sleeve brushing her arm. The contact was brief, but her breath hitched. He noticed. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," she said quickly, staring at the screen. He paused, then said quietly, "You know, I used to know someone who'd get nervous the same way when she worked beside me." Her fingers froze on the keyboard. "Did you?" She was smart, brave, never said what she really felt. He looked out the window, voice distant. "I hurt her once. I didn't mean to, but I did." Mia couldn't breathe. "Did you ever tell her that?" He turned, meeting her eyes. "No, I never saw her again." The silence between them felt heavy, full of years neither could erase. Before she could respond, his phone rang, breaking the moment. He answered quickly, his tone shifting back to business. "Understood. I'll handle it." Then he looked at her. "We'll continue tomorrow." When Mia left the office, her legs felt weak. She'd promised herself she would never tell him. But now, working beside him every day, watching him soften, seeing the regret he didn't voice, she knew the truth would come out on its own. That night, as she watched Lily sleep, she whispered to herself, "He deserves to know, even if it breaks everything." But she had no idea that the discovery wouldn't come from her. It would come from a single, innocent sentence spoken by her daughter, the one that would shatter the quiet world she had built and change all their lives forever. The weekend arrived like a calm before the storm. Mia spent it pretending everything was normal, baking cookies with Lily, cleaning their apartment, forcing herself to smile. But her thoughts kept circling back to Ethan, to the portrait, to the years between then and now. She told herself that she could keep this secret a little longer, just until the project ended, just until she could breathe again. But children have a way of undoing what adults work so hard to hide. Monday morning came with unexpected chaos. The daycare called to say one of their teachers was sick, and parents needed to pick up their children early. Mia had no choice but to bring Lily to the office for an hour until her friend could take her. As they rode the elevator up to the 15th floor, Mia knelt and adjusted Lily's scarf. "Sweetheart, you have to be quiet, okay? This is Mommy's work. We can't make noise." Lily nodded solemnly. "I'll be good, Mommy. I promise." When they entered the open office, heads turned. No one expected to see a little girl holding her mother's hand among rows of cubicles. But before anyone could say anything, Ethan's assistant approached. "Mr. Hale wants to review the file from last week. He asked for you right away." Mia froze. "Now?" "Yes. He's waiting in his office." She looked down at Lily, who was staring wide-eyed at the tall glass walls. "Can she sit quietly in the corner? Just for a few minutes?" The assistant smiled. "Of course. She'll be fine." Mia led Lily into Ethan's office, whispering, "Sit right here and draw, okay? Don't move." Lily nodded and climbed onto a chair, pulling out her sketchbook. Ethan looked up when Mia entered. "Morning, Miss Collins." His gaze flickered to the small figure behind her. "And who do we have here?" "My daughter," she said carefully. "I'm so sorry, sir. There was an emergency at her school." He smiled faintly. "No need to apologize. She's welcome to stay. What's your name, young lady?" "Lily," the little girl said proudly. "Lily," he repeated softly, like the name had a strange familiarity. "That's a lovely name." Mia's chest tightened. "We should get started, sir." They began reviewing documents, Ethan dictating while she typed. The quiet click of keys filled the room. Lily hummed quietly to herself as she drew. After a while, Ethan stood to stretch and wandered over to where Lily sat. "What are you drawing there?" he asked. She held it up with a grin. "A family. That's me and Mommy, and that's my daddy, even though I've never met him. Mommy says he's kind and brave." Mia's heart stopped. She turned too quickly, papers slipping from her hands. "Lily," Ethan smiled gently. "That's a wonderful picture." But his gaze lingered. The man she'd drawn, dark hair, same eyes, same smile, was unmistakable. It was him. "Did you say you've never met your father?" he asked carefully. Lily nodded. "Mommy says he's far away, but maybe one day he'll find us." Something in Ethan's expression shifted, confusion, disbelief, then something deeper. He glanced at Mia, but she couldn't meet his eyes. "Miss Collins," he said quietly, "may I speak with you outside for a moment?" Her legs felt weak as she followed him into the hallway. The air felt too thin to breathe. He turned to her, his voice low but trembling. "You need to tell me the truth. Who are you?" She swallowed hard. "I told you. I'm—" "Don't," he cut in sharply. "I saw the way she looked at me. The way you froze when she said his name. How long were you going to hide this?" Her hands shook. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this." His face went pale. "Then it's true." She nodded slowly, her voice breaking. "She's yours, Ethan." Silence. The world seemed to narrow around them until all she could hear was the faint buzz of the office lights above. He pressed a hand to his temple, trying to breathe. "All these years, why didn't you tell me?" "I wanted to," she whispered. "But when you left for London, you stopped writing. I thought you moved on. You had your life, your dreams. And I had her." He stared at her for a long moment, eyes glistening. "You should have told me." Tears welled in hers too. Would it have changed anything back then? He didn't answer. The silence between them said everything. After a long pause, his voice softened. "I want to see her again. Properly. Not as a stranger." Mia nodded slowly. "She deserves to know you. But please, be gentle. She's just a child." He looked through the glass wall where Lily sat coloring, unaware of the storm she had just started. "She's not just a child," he whispered. "She's my daughter." For the rest of that day, the world moved differently. Ethan's voice, once so controlled, carried an ache she'd never heard before. And as the sun set behind the city skyline, he stood by the window watching her and their daughter leave together. Two silhouettes walking into the fading light. while the truth he'd been missing all these years settled heavy and irreversible in his heart. The following days blurred into something neither of them could define. Ethan tried to focus on work, but every spreadsheet and meeting faded beneath the noise in his mind. Each time he looked across the office, he saw not a stranger sitting behind a desk, but the girl he once loved, now a woman raising his child alone. He spent his nights pacing, thinking of the small hands that had drawn his face without ever knowing it was real. The thought of Lily calling someone else daddy made his chest ache in ways he hadn't felt since losing his parents. He wanted to fix it, to claim what was his, but guilt whispered that he had no right to disrupt the life Mia had built without him. Meanwhile, Mia avoided his gaze whenever she could. She worked longer hours, kept conversations short, and did everything to keep things professional. But fate kept forcing them together. Shared meetings, overlapping deadlines, late nights reviewing files when the rest of the office was dark. One evening, as rain streaked the glass, Ethan said quietly, "I can't keep pretending this doesn't matter." Mia didn't look up. "It can't matter, Ethan. Not now. She's happy. She deserves to know me." Her voice broke. "And what then? You think you can just walk back into her life and fix everything? You don't know what it's been like." He stepped closer. "Then tell me." She turned, tears in her eyes. "You left without a word. I thought you'd forgotten me. I thought you'd forgotten us. And when I found out I was pregnant, I didn't have a choice. I had to survive. I had to be both parents at once." His voice softened. "I didn't know, Mia. I never got your letters. My father, he handled all my mail that last semester. He didn't want distractions before London." Her breath caught. "He knew?" Ethan nodded slowly. "He must have. And he kept it from me." The silence that followed felt like a lifetime collapsing. Finally, he whispered, "I missed years I can't get back. But I don't want to lose any more." Mia sank into the chair behind her, exhaustion written in every line of her face. "You can't just walk in as her father. She'll be confused." "Then let me start as a friend," he said. "Someone who's always around." That night, for the first time, she didn't say no. The next day, Ethan showed up at the small park near Lily's school. He didn't approach, just watched from a distance as she ran across the playground, her laughter cutting through the cold air. When she finally noticed him, her face lit up. "Mr. Ethan, Mommy said you work together." He smiled. "That's right. I thought I'd stop by and see how your art's coming along." She proudly pulled a small sketch from her backpack, a new drawing of a family, this time with him standing beside her and Mia. "Do you like it?" His throat tightened. "Very much." From that day on, he became a quiet part of their routine. He'd stop by after work, bring Lily new pencils, listen to her endless stories. Slowly, carefully, he built a space in her world. One afternoon, while they were coloring, Lily looked up and said innocently, "You know, Mr. Ethan, you kind of look like me." Mia froze mid-step. Ethan's heart stopped. He smiled softly. "Maybe that's why I like you so much." Lily laughed, but Mia's eyes met his over the table, a look full of fear, love, and something unspoken. Weeks passed, and their lives began to intertwine in ways that felt both inevitable and fragile. Ethan never pushed, never forced the truth, but one evening, when Lily fell asleep on his shoulder, Mia whispered, "She's going to find out someday." He looked down at the little girl, then back at her mother. "Then when she does, I hope she knows I never stopped looking for her, even before I knew she existed." And for the first time since the portrait that had started it all, Mia let herself believe that maybe the past hadn't been lost. It had only been waiting for the right moment to return.